God, you are. Oh, you are. You are, you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. God, you are my peace. Peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Love is what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, my peace, my love. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. Yeah. God, you are my peace. Oh, peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Oh, love is what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, my peace, my love. God, you are my strength. Strength is what you are. God, you are my help. Oh, help is what you are. And God, you are my life. And life is what you are. God, you are my joy. And joy is what you are. You are my joy, my peace, my love. 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 God, you are my joy. Oh, yeah, yeah. Na, 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 na. God, you are. Oh, you are. You are, you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. God, you are my peace. Peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Love is what you are. are. God, you are my love. Oh, love is what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, my peace, my love. God, you are my strength. Strength is what you are. God, you are my help. Oh, help is what you are. And God, you are my life. And life is what you are. God, you are my joy. And joy is what you are. You are my joy, my peace, my love. 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 God, you are my joy. Oh, yeah, yeah. Na, 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 na. God, you are. Oh, you are. You are, you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. God, you are my peace. Peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Love is what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, my peace, my love. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. Yeah. God, you are my peace. Oh, peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Oh, love is what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, my peace, my love. God, what you are. God, you are my help. Oh, help is what you are. And God, you are my life. And life is what you are. God, you are my joy. And joy is what you are. You are my joy, my peace, my love, 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 my joy, my peace, my God, you are my God, you are. Oh, you are. You are, you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. God, you are my peace. Peace is what you are. God, you are my love. Love what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy,
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Let's breathe in love and breathe out compassion. Let's center ourselves right here and right now where God is. God the omnipresence, God the omnipotent, God the omniscience, all power, everywhere present, all consciousness, wisdom, and knowledge. God the universal mind, God the first cause. God that created us in its own image, which shares the same essence, which gives every single human being 99% of the same cells and organs. God that is as close as our hands and feet. God that breathes us and is that breath. God that divinely inspires our desires. I envision having family, friends, good health, serenity, and all I need to live abundantly. And so it is done. I thrive as I live in awe and gratitude. I know that God is the source of all my desires. I cannot create anything without the thought in my mind, and that thought originates in the invisible energy field in the mind of God. I have thought unexpected and surprising thoughts about my romantic relationships, my housing situation, my career, my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. When my ego says, "Don't be silly, you can't have that," I remind myself that all things are possible with God. I have felt the presence of God within, guiding me. I have experienced a life encompassing all that I desire beyond my wildest dreams. I affirm for each and every one of you to listen to what God has in store for you, and then to follow those divinely inspired nudges, actions, intuitive insights. Embrace the feeling of possibility and positive expectation. Keep your mind steadfast with strength and zeal and imagination. Say yes to unexpected invitations and receive miracles and answered prayers. The universe is endlessly creating, endlessly pulsating. The Spirit of God never dies. She is called the hidden creator. Let the music, the meditation, and the message this morning permeate your hearts and minds. I am so thankful and grateful that this is the way the law works, and that it works equally for every single one of us. We are worthy, we are beloved, we are perfect just the way we are. God's grace is overflowing. Let us rejoice and be glad in that. I release these words back into the mind of God from which they came. I have faith and gratitude that they are already done. So it was joy, expectation, and anticipation that I say amen, ashe, and so it is.
Amen, ashe, and so it is. Yes, yes. Thank you, Reverend
Yes.
Shana, for that opening prayer. Good morning again. It's so good to be here with you. I think there was an issue with the microphone, so you did not hear our good morning and our welcome, and that we are here to celebrate the magnificence and significance of God in, through, and as us. We know this truth and celebrate this truth as one family. It is good to be here with you, and we welcome you all. We welcome our first-time guests. If you're here for the first time, streaming in, connecting with the vision and vibration that is CSC, we are so very grateful that you chose to hang out with us on this Sunday to stream this service, and we would love to stay in touch with you. And so as you see here on the screen, it's actually very easy to do that. You can join our mailing list by texting the word welcome to 347-472-1078. When you text welcome to that phone number, you'll be receive an automatic reply with a link that will take you to our digital connection card. Complete that digital connection card, submit your information, and then you'll receive another follow-up text message saying that you're all set. And indeed, at that moment, you are all set. And you'll be on our mailing list. You'll receive our weekly email that comes out on Fridays, which has lots of pertinent information and links and other things that you'll definitely want to have in your inbox and be able to access later on. But more importantly, again, welcome. It's so good to have you here. I am confident that you will receive something beneficial, something that will empower you, and something that will allow you to live and thrive throughout this week in a new way, in a bold way, in a powerful way. So let's get into our announcements for today, and then we can move into the meditation, the music, and the message. We are a church that believes in prayer, and so every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. we gather for the Momentum Prayer Call. The information to join that prayer call is right here on your screen. You just use the phone number and the access code. You can also join via the web if you like to do that, and you see the information there on your screen. It's not a long call. We share a reading, usually from the Daily Word, and then either myself, PY, or one of the prayer champions leads us in prayer. Now, that prayer is recorded, so if you can't make the prayer at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for whatever reason, you can always use the playback number and access that prayer. It is also good to have that playback because you may just need prayer and not on Wednesday, on a Saturday, later on today, on Sunday. And so the most recent prayer is always available to you just by calling that number, entering the access code, and then waiting, and the most recent prayer will play. Again, we are a church that believes in prayer. This particular number through Start Meeting is we established it before we opened our doors, and we have immersed the roots of CSC in prayer. And so this is why we continue to thrive, and this is how we continue to move forward victoriously year in and year out, month in and month out. We know you also may have a prayer request. There are many things going on in our lives. There may be things going on in the lives of your friends, family, or loved ones. And so you can send a prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. Know that we receive it as the pastors, our prayer champions receive it, and we hold the truth. We know the truth with you as you are moving through that experience, as you are holding the truth for your friend, family, or loved one. We are standing there with you. We are agreeing with you. We are side by side with you. And I think it's always great to know that you have other people standing with you in agreement, standing with you in love and in truth.
I love this image, the open and receptive nature of his stance, her stance. It's beautiful. And that's what we do when we release our prayer requests back into the mind of God. We stand open and receptive to answers, insight, solutions.
Yes, yes. Your 2021 giving statements will be available by tomorrow. So we're obligated to make sure that we provide giving statements by the end of January to those who have given $250 or more. We also provide those statements to all of our members. So there's two things that I want to highlight that are very important. One, we're going to be emailing them this year. We also emailed them last year, but we'll be emailing them through our church management system, Planning Center, and it'll be coming from Planning Center Giving. So there are two things that are very important. One, to look for the email from Planning Center Giving, and the subject will say your 2021 giving statement. But the other thing that's important, if you have any questions or issues with the statement, maybe something is missing or whatever it may be, it's important that you email givingsupport@celebrationsc.org. That's how you will receive help, and that's how you will receive support. That's very important. Now, the other thing you see, one of the things that's different, instead of the statement being attached to the email, there will be a button, as you see here on the screen, where you click to download your statement. Each statement has a unique secure link that will expire after a specific amount of time, right? And this is for your own safety and security. So when you receive that email, download the statement as soon as you receive it, because again, the link expires. Doesn't mean that you won't have access to it as you see here. After that, you'll need to actually log into your donor account. You may, and that's a whole set of steps, right? So we want to make sure that you download your statement. But of course, if for some reason you miss the link and it expires, we will support you in getting access to your account and downloading your statement. But in the short term, when you receive the email, it will be coming from Planning Center Giving. Immediately download the statement, click the button. Again, this is a secure link. No one else will have this link. Each statement has a unique link and it expires. So that's another layer of security. If you have any questions, any concerns, any issues, then you must email givingsupport@celebrationsc.org. And then we, along with our giving support team, will be able to support you in figuring out what's going on and whatever the challenge may be. But we're confident that this process is seamless, that all will work well. So again, you should look in your inbox by tomorrow. You'll have your giving statement, email, and link.
And as we move to this more electronic format, it's a beautiful way for us to save trees. And so
Absolutely.
we love the idea that we can download, you have access to it, it's also available in your donor account. And so we love this new way of operating, especially now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's all of our announcements for today. So we can now move into the meditation and the very capable hands of Pastor Yolanda.
Wow, we are at the end of the month of January. Can you believe it? I have enjoyed this particular affirmative thought and have been using it for some time myself. I am free. I am free of my past beliefs and mistakes. I am free of any ideas that went before that prevented me from living more fully in the now. I am free. I am free to create the life that I want to create. And any time that my mind goes back to some worry, doubt, fear, insecurity, something that is holding me back, I can affirm this thought. I can say it aloud. I can say it to myself. I can just stay in the vibration of freedom. For God has given us the ability to create and to choose our experience, and to choose our experience again and again and again. The power of decision is ours. And so, knowing that is true, it's been a joy to stay in this vibration of freedom. We are not our origin story. We are not the beliefs and thoughts of our parents, our siblings, of society. We are free to choose and to create. That's freedom. That's the freedom that we've been given. We came here with that freedom. And we continue to live and move and have our being in that freedom. Knowing that this is true, let's prepare ourselves for meditation. For not just thinking these words, but feeling these words alive in every cell of our being. Feeling these words moving in through and as our experience in our everyday lives. We are free. More importantly, we are safe to choose freedom whenever we desire. So let's go ahead, prepare ourselves to do more than think. We affirm and we feel our freedom today. Right where you are, go ahead and look around the room. Why do we do that? So that we can prepare our sympathetic nervous system, our parasympathetic, every aspect of our being to remember we're safe. When we think the thoughts of safety, we slow the breath and the body down. There is nothing to fear. And as we realize that we are safe, let's go ahead and align our ears over our shoulders so that we're not leaning too far forward. I got excited and I was leaning in, or too far back in resistance to what is coming. We're just in alignment with the flow. Shoulders over ears. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over your hips, and plant your palms on the tops of your thighs. Just that subtle movement of relaxing the shoulder blades down the back, creating this long line of energy, not collapsing and not hyperextending, just there in that beautiful neutral posture. From this place, go ahead and close your eyes. And as we close the external eyes, we open the internal eyes. We open to see and feel freedom. We let go of anything that kept us bound as we breathe. For the breath is the constant reminder of flow, the constant reminder of the cycle of giving and receiving. Let's just notice the breath right here and now. And as you notice the breath, incorporate any sounds that you hear in the room, whether it be my voice or your own space, outside the room, outside the walls. Bring it all in, for you are safe and you are free. Last round to notice. Whether the breath appears to be deep or appears to be shallow, it is moving. It is flowing. And we are in gratitude for the flow of the breath. And now, let's take conscious control of the breath. We are deciding to feel the freedom within ourselves. We are deciding to breathe more fully. And if you like, you may place the right hand on the low belly, making contact there, encouraging more openness, more alignment. And together we're going to breathe in on a count of 4. As we breathe in, we'll expand the low belly. Inhale. Expand the low belly into the palm of the hand. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and sigh out anything that would be blocking the flow. Expand the low belly again, breathing completely, fully, and not collapsing the body. Breathing into the hand. Hold it there. And nice and easy, release the breath. Sigh it out. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, elongating, connecting, deepening the flow of breath, expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body. Hold it there. And open the mouth, relax that jaw, sigh it out. Sometimes hearing the breath release reminds us that we are free. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage again, sending that breath into new spaces, opening more, creating more room for freedom, more room for expression, more room for healing. Hold it there. Without collapsing, sigh it out. Shoulders relax. Rib cage stays lifted. And we have space. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, now bringing it to the altar, to the divine, that heart chakra, center of the chest. As the diaphragm lifts, we feel an opening across the chest, across the back, as if we can encounter and face anything because our flow is unobstructed. We are free. Releasing that breath. Last time, in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, up through the heart. Hold it there. And sigh it out. Each time we breathe fully, we remind ourselves how freely the breath flows, how free we are to give and receive. So let's practice again. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, up through the heart, but this time, close the lips and exhale through the nose. This will be our form of breath work, in and out through the nose, for the remainder of our meditative time, sinking deeper and deeper into relaxation, opening more to receive insight and inspiration, reminding ourselves that we are free. Beautiful, everyone. Let's send this vibration into the feet. Maybe you've been gripping or holding on to something this week in fear, doubt, and worry about stepping lightly into the future. Bring your focus to the feet. Send the breath there. Relax the feet. Sending the energy up through the soles of the feet, across the ankles. Relax the ankles. And now, opening, allowing the energy to flow up the shins and the calves. Relax the shins and the calves. As this energy flows across the knees, we bend, we align, we remember that we are flexible in our giving and receiving, that we are free to forgive ourselves and others. Relax the knees. Energy flows across the thighs and the hamstrings. And when I say these words, bring your focus and energy there to the glutes. Relax the thighs, the hamstrings, and the glutes. Energy that is generated and gathering is now moving up through the base of the spine. If you feel yourself tensing anywhere, just relax and breathe as the energy moves in and up, 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 up and out the crown of our head. We align our body and our energy and our experience with the energy gathered above us, the energy gathered before and behind and underneath us, the energy of freedom that is here now. We give it permission to flow back down through the crown, activating and balancing our third eye, opening our throat so that we speak words of love and freedom. Sending it down our arms, out our fingertips. From this point, please examine the body. Notice where you are in space. Notice that you are free and safe. And make the choice whether you want the palms turned up or down. Up to receive more, and down to ground more. From this place of openness and receptivity, we will go into our meditative time. If the mind wanders, it's okay. It's doing what the mind does. But we're also free to choose to bring it back to this thought: I am free. I will monitor the time. You take the inward journey. Freedom is yours. Now. With our eyes still closed, we relax in the joy of knowing that we are free. With our eyes still closed, we allow freedom to flow. And with our eyes still closed, we let go of anything from our past that would resurface and keep us bound. We are grateful for the ability to plant the seed of freedom and to reap the harvest of freedom. Let's begin to bring ourselves back now, slowly. There is no need to rush. Maybe begin by turning the palms back down if they are up. That simple act of making contact with the thighs sends a subtle signal to the body it's time to return. Wiggle the toes, maybe. Raise the heels if you're seated upright. Stop the movement. And if the body has collapsed, allow this elongated breath to bring it back into alignment. Inhaling up, drawing the shoulders up by the ears. And exhale as the shoulders draw back and down. Inhale up. Release the breath. Shoulders draw back and down. Last time. Inhale up. Exhale. Shoulders draw back and relax nice and easy down. Bring the palms together at heart center. And bow the chin to the fingertips. You'll notice a slight opening at the base of the neck, all the way down the spine. As we bow, we honor the time that we've given ourselves, the vibration that we've co-created, and we remember that we can return to it at any time, for we are free. Slowly flutter the eyes open, taking in a point on the floor in front of you or wherever the gaze lands nice and easy. Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze, soft focus, release the breath. Namaste.
Yes, yes, yes. Namaste. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
So we are in the final week of this month's series, the three-part series that we're experiencing. It's all about love God, love you, love people. And this month we're focused on that first piece, which is love God. I'm excited about the final message in this series. But before we get into the sermon, we're going to hear from Soul 21. And this song is a perfect song to end this month with, to support this series, to support the energy that we've created, the knowing that we're standing in. So let's just celebrate in praise with Soul 21, and then I will see you on the other side. Yes, 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 yes. Believe and receive it. God will perform it today. If you're paying attention, right, you can see that that song is the musical vibration and the musical knowing of what we've been talking about. Right, we've said over and over this idea of we can only experience what we can actually embody, what we can believe. It is done unto us according to our beliefs. And so we must expect a miracle every day, knowing that who and what God is the thing that makes the way. Right, we believe and we receive it, and we know that it will be performed when? Tomorrow, next week? Today, as in right now, right here and now. Again, it is the musical vibration of where we've been this month, and I'm just grateful and thankful that we have that in the archives. Thank you, Soul 21. Thank you, Celebration Band. Shout out to Carlton and Frank and Ben and Zane as we continue to use the vibration that we've created and the consciousness that we created, coming together and rehearsing and practicing, and we still get to benefit from it even now in 2022. Well, good morning. Happy Sunday. I hope you are feeling good now if you weren't feeling good before. I believe and know that that sure enough woke you up and got you ready for the remainder of this day. So I want to review a little bit where we've been so that we can move forward in looking at the fourth part of the introduction to the science of mind. So again, our series, it's all about love. This month we're focusing on that first piece of love God. And we started in the first week. The first part of that introduction is the thing itself. And so there we're understanding who and what we're talking about. Who and what is this thing that we call God? It is first cause. It is spirit. It is love. It is law. And I talked about in that first week that when we say love God, what we're really saying is know God, understand God, and knowing and understanding God, that we are actually one with God and we are divine, and it is operating through us, and it is responding to us and becomes what we believe. All of these things are very important, and we understand what this thing is. In week 2, right, we talked about the thing itself, then we talk about what it does, right? What does God do? What does spirit do? What does law do? What does love do? It works for us by working through us and always is us. Right, powerful knowing, and I shared so much in that sermon to really support us in coming into this awareness of understanding that God works for us. Right, so then we no longer have to live in this old false God concept, and I won't say old, just false, because folks still are holding it now, so it ain't old. This false God concept that God is judging us or punishing us, right? That one spiritual truth that rang through that message, quoting Pema Chodron, right? Pain is not punishment and pleasure is not reward, right? God doesn't operate in that, but God responds and is working through us based on what we are believing to be true and holding to be true. Last week, embodying God, right? If we understand what the thing is, if we understand what it does, then we ask, how does it work? Well, how does it work? It fills the molds that we create. And so we must embody the divine. We must embody the divine truth, the spiritual truth and the spiritual nature of God. And as much as we embody that, it fills, right? Without hesitation, without reservation, without judgment. And so we looked at that idea of, as we talked in the previous week, about recognizing and being receptive, and then we must embody. And so now we get to look at the fourth and final part of the introduction. After we look at the thing itself, what it does, how it works, and then finally, how to use it. And so I want to take you to something. There's an article that I read a week or so ago, I don't know, it was maybe a few weeks ago, talking about positive thinking. Now, I have in times past talked about the idea that positive thinking is actually problematic, and particularly as it relates to New Thought, because many people equate New Thought teachings, New Thought philosophy, with positive thinking, or even call it a positive thinking movement. And it is none of those things. And so a few weeks ago, I read an article that I thought was interesting. It was in the Sunday Times, the UK news outlet. And the title of the article is "How to Harness the Power of Negative Thinking." And the subtitle, "Sick of the hashtag grateful good vibes only crew? You're not alone. According to a new book, relentless positivity can be more toxic than you think." And the title of the book that they highlight in this article is "Toxic Positivity, Keeping It Real in a World Obsessed with Being Happy." And this is by an American psychotherapist, Whitney Goodman. So of course that grabbed my attention, and I get it that this title, the "How to Harness the Power of Negative Thinking," was designed to get your attention, right? It's clickbait on a certain level. However, this psychotherapist is very clear that she believes that positivity and positive thinking is toxic, and that there's a world that's obsessed with being happy and then not keeping it real. And so, reading in the article, this is the therapist speaking. "When I first got on Instagram, I noticed there were tons of quotes that felt victim blaming and inspirational," she says. "I thought, wow, if my clients saw these, they would feel really terrible." Right? Now, you all know I talk about what I call fake deep memes, right? There's a lot of stuff out here that when you really look at it and you really analyze it, it's not loving, right? It's not beneficial, and it is victim blaming sometimes. The article goes on, "She means live, laugh, love, dross, such as so many people have it worse. Be grateful for what you have." Right? We've talked about that. I've given messages on gratitude and how comparison and gratitude is not actually gratitude. Or "your thoughts create your own reality," which is interesting for anyone on their 17th bad date of the week. She litters her book with examples. "Whatever you decide to do in life, make sure that it makes you happy, because being a vacuous nadir, given most people hate their job." In one chapter, Goodman looks at the times when being positive can in fact be damaging, not just annoying. One woman came to see her after several miscarriages. At least there are other ways to make a family, she had been told, but what she really wanted to hear was, "That is so painful." Not, as someone a couple straps short of a straitjacket said, "Think positive and the baby will come." Let's all take a breath. Again, New Thought teachings and New Thought philosophy is not positive thinking. Many people think that to be true. Many people looking at it on the surface would say that, oh, this is just the positive thinking movement, and that's what they're doing, right? Norman Vincent Peale studied and was influenced by New Thought, but is not a New Thought teacher or practitioner, right? That's very important. Similarly, the science of mind is not teaching positive thinking. Right? So everything that we've been talking about over the past 3 weeks, and as we're looking at this 4-part introduction, and as you've been reading through the introduction, please do not mistake this for another way to talk about positive thinking, or that's what all Ernest Holmes is really saying. Just think positive and all will be well, right? Now, much of what the author, the psychotherapist Goodman, describes is in fact toxic, particularly as most people are simply trying to be positive without any understanding, and this can lead to terrible results. It's sort of like hearing of all the benefits and good uses for fire without also fully understanding and being taught the danger of fire. Fire isn't the problem, but the misuse of fire is. I want y'all to take that in and just hear that for a second, because this is really what's going on, right? One could hear of all the benefits and all of the good uses for fire, right? Somebody is hearing all the benefits supposedly of thinking positive, right? Without any full understanding and without fully understanding and being taught the danger of fire, right? And so fire isn't the problem, but it's misuse and misinformation about what fire is and what fire does, right? And just as fire can be used to cook a delicious meal, just as fire can be used to heat a home, fire can be used to burn down that home. Fire can burn the cook that's making the meal, right? And so we have to have all the information, otherwise it's a misuse. Yes, yes. New thought is not positive thinking. The science of mind is not teaching positive thinking. So let's look at something that Ernest Holmes writes here in this fourth part in How to Use It, Science of Mind, the fourth part of the introduction. He opens this fourth part by writing, "One of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is the truth." So in opening, he's inviting us to understand, as we're talking about how to use it, all of this stuff that we've been talking about, all of these precepts and principles that we've been highlighting and looking at and getting excited about as we understand what the thing itself is and what it does and how it works. We could get bogged down in the theory of it and bogged down in talking about the principle, but now we actually have to begin to use it and experiment with it, right? And as we experiment with it, we start to demonstrate or prove or disprove what it is that we're reading and understanding. And it is out of that proving that then we can say it is true, and it is true for me. Now, further in the text, he writes this: "The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect, Psalm 19:7, and we must believe this is to be a fact, insofar as our thought is in accord with this perfect law." Holmes writes, "The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding." Positive understanding, not positive thinking. What we understand, we know. Yes, yes? And what we know, we become, which is exactly what we're being invited to do in this process of understanding how it works, right? That we actually must become, we must embody what it is in consciousness that we desire to be, do, or have, and the way we become it is through our knowing. So the invitation then, after learning who and what the thing itself is, after understanding how it works, after understanding what it does, the invitation is to become a positive knower. Now, what is a positive knower? Because a positive knower is not a positive thinker, right? We're not practicing this toxic positivity that is now being disparaged because it's misunderstood. What is a positive knower? How does she live in the world? How does she respond in the world? What does she do? What does she think? What does she say? Well, Ernest Holmes guides us through this when he is inviting us to understand how to use it. And so I want to read here what he writes, and we're going to start to break down some things and start to understand what a positive knower looks like and what are the attributes of the positive knower and how a positive knower shows up in the world and shows up in their life. He writes, "Let us analyze this. One finds themselves impoverished. They wish to change this condition," and I'm changing the pronouns here just to be inclusive. They know that it is not in accord with ultimate reality, that the Spirit imposes no limitations. Therefore, they know that their apparent limited condition has no real law to support it. It is simply an experience of consciousness. They wish a definite result in the opposite direction. First, they realize that the law of life is a law of liberty, of freedom. They now state that this law of liberty is flowing through them and into all of their affairs. So here he is giving us something. He's giving us a scenario, right? Imagine there's someone who is impoverished, right? And that impoverishment could be financial. It could be in the area of relationships and just in the area of access, whatever it may be. And they wish to change the condition. Now, they know that this is not in accord with ultimate reality, right? Because we've been talking about that, and we've been studying that, and we've been reading that, and we know that the Spirit imposes no limitations. Therefore, this apparent limited condition has no real law to support it. It's changeable. That's what that means. All right? It is simply an experience of consciousness. And so now this person desires a definite result in the opposite direction. First, what does he say? First, the positive knower does something that Myrtle Fillmore invites us to do. Get busy using the truth you know. What is the highest, widest, and most expansive truth I know now that I can hold on to with certainty? What is the truth that I have recognized, received, and embodied? And so then the affirmation then becomes there is a law, and this law is always in operation. First, we have to bring our minds back to spirit, love, law. This is the recognition step in spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, right? Those 5 steps. The first is recognize that there is an ultimate reality. There is a law, right? A law of life. And as he writes, he says the law of life is of liberty and of freedom. That's very important, right? So in spite of what I may be seeing, in spite of what I may be experiencing, in spite of what may be going on out here in the external world, right? The external world is the world of effects, rather. It is not a causer, right? It is simply demonstrating the effect of some other cause, some other mental cause. So I come back to the highest reality and I remember that there is a law. It is always in operation. There is spirit. It is always in operation. There is love. It is always in operation. And this spirit, this love, this law is a law of liberty, and it is a law of freedom. Now, the next thing, and this is important, the positive knower connects herself to this law. Because what did we talk about in the second week? That God works for us by working through us and always is us. So as Holmes invites us, this law of liberty and of freedom is flowing through me and all my affairs, right? He says they now state that this law of liberty is flowing through me and into all of their affairs. Right? So there's 2 things that we're already seeing here that a positive knower does, and this is very different than Pollyanna positive thinking. Oh, it'll all be fine, right? As disaster and chaos is happening all around you, right? You gotta. I'm hearing the old Negro spiritual steal away, right? You got to step back and go into your secret place and ask yourself, what do I know to be true? And get busy using the truth you know. And as you bring your mind to this ultimate reality, as you bring your mind back to spirit, love, law, and who and what it is, you connect to it, right? You harmonize yourself with it. This is why then in the second step of affirmative prayer, what do we have to do? We have to unify. I am one with God, right? You hear it each and every time we pray. We say it. We are one with God and we are one of God. What God is in the large, I am in the small, right? I am the wave. God is the ocean. This is how we are now connecting. Now, he goes on because he ends that section and he says, but the image of the limitation persists. Here is a definite contradiction of the statements of freedom. So real talk, like what happens? Okay, so you're having this experience and you're excited and you know what to do. And so you begin to affirm spirit, love, law, and who and what it is. And it knows no limitations and I am one with that, right? But then that thought says, yeah, but you don't really believe this. right? Or you just have the glaring reminder of the problem. You have a glaring reminder of the challenge, right? You have the glaring reminder of the phone call or that bill collector that's calling you, right? And so he goes on, he says, right here, they must stop and declare that these images of limitation are neither person, place, nor thing, that they have no power, personality, nor presence, and no real law to support them. They do not believe in them, and they cannot operate through them. This person is free from their influence forever. Now, there's two things that are buried in here that I absolutely love. When we're talking about being a positive knower, and again, understanding that this is not positive thinking and it's not toxic positivity. Because one of the things that the positive knower does, the positive knower is aware of her thoughts, right? Because it says, but the image of limitation persists. And then he goes on right here, they must stop and declare that these images of limitation are neither person, place, nor thing. But in order to do that, you would have to be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. The positive knower is aware of their limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs. This is very important because many times those that are trying to be positive, trying to practice positive thinking, or even trying to be a positive knower, they're not aware of what's going on in their minds, right? They're just trying to railroad against an experience, right? They're just trying to push over and stomp over an experience using spiritual principles or using metaphysical principles, but you actually have to be aware of what's going on in your mind, because that's what's going to inform how you pray. Why? Because what we're doing is we're treating our minds. We're not treating the condition. We don't try to change conditions. We don't manipulate conditions, right? Just as you wouldn't change. I used the example last week of making a cake, right? And you had a cake pan that was shaped. You wanted to make a heart, but you had a cake pan that was shaped as a moon, right? So then you wouldn't start manipulating the cake, right? You would need to get the right mold, right? You change the mold and pour the batter in, and the batter will become exactly what it is that you want, right? So this is very important. We are aware of what we are thinking. We are aware of our limiting beliefs. And what do? This is good. He writes, right here, she must stop and declare that these images of limitation are neither person, place, nor thing. What does she do? She stops. Now, I heard this idea crystallized in a beautiful quote yesterday. I was watching Boba Fett on Disney Plus, and in chapter 5, there's this beautiful exchange with a teacher and a fighter, a warrior, and they're talking about the principles of the Mandalorians. But this character, the armorer, she said something that crystallizes this. She says, "Persistence without insight will lead to the same outcome." And so what many people are doing, because we're trying to make a change, we're trying to change a condition, and so we keep moving forward. I'm just going to keep praying. I'm just going to keep praying. I'm just going to keep praying, right? But there's no insight because you haven't stopped and said, wait, what are my limiting beliefs? You're not aware of what's actually going on in your mind. And again, that's what we change. So persistence is wonderful. You got to, don't stop praying. That's important. I'm going to pray till my change comes. That's important. But persistence without insight, without knowing, right? Ernest Holmes, what did I read earlier? This is positive understanding. The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth. So we got to come to a positive understanding, not just persist because persisting is good. We got to persist with knowledge, with an actual knowing, so that we can get a different outcome. And here's something that's critical and important, and I need you all to hear this, right? In the situation that I read about earlier, where the psychotherapist talked about a client who had several miscarriages, and I'm going to say it, some fool told her to think positive and the baby will come. First of all, that's a miscarriage of justice, right? But I want to be clear about something here. When we talk about stopping, this stopping in that case would have first been to allow her time to grieve. That stopping would have been allowing her time to receive care. that stopping would have been allowing her time to receive support, go to therapy, whatever is needed. And this applies to any situation, wherever there's hurt or disappointment or unwanted outcome. The first thing we need to do is stop, right? Because again, what so many people are doing, they're trying to persist, but they're persisting without insight. Or in this case, persisting and you ain't healed. Persisting with the same thought patterns, whatever the thought patterns were that supported the outcome, unwanted outcome, but now you're piling on pain and grief and sadness on top of it. Right? And this is something that we can speak to specifically because we've seen this in our own community. We lovingly call Pastor Yolanda the baby whisperer, right? Because we have had several people close to us and in the CSE community that were told they couldn't have babies and experienced miscarriages and, felt, they were at their wits' end, right? And there are now beautiful humans walking the earth because they've experienced the miracle of the work and the miracle of these children coming into being. But what we did not do was say, think positive and the baby will come, right? That would be a misuse of this law, and it would be a misuse of this practice. Because what's the title of the series? It's all about love. And so stopping is loving. Right now, we're going to talk a little more, next month, we're going to talk about loving you and loving people, right? And unfortunately, many times, we don't love people, right? We use these teachings and we use what we think we know, and they become just another tool of shame and guilt, even though we think we're not living in shame and guilt because we left some other traditional religion, right? But it's the same thing. So it's all about love. And so the loving thing to do is to stop. And if you're in a situation, in this case with a miscarriage, but any situation, again, where there's hurt, disappointment, and unwanted outcome, allow yourself to be sad. That's okay. And so the psychotherapist, she's absolutely right. But again, this is what we practice, right? This is what we practice. And so in truth, some of y'all need to stop. Because this is what the positive knower does. Some of y'all just need to stop. Don't write down another goal. Don't try to move forward with no other vision. Don't try to manifest nothing. Don't try to demonstrate nothing. Don't try to manipulate gratitude. Just stop and grieve and heal. And then you will be aware of what's going on in your mind, and then you can move forward with this next piece. Because what does Ernest Holmes say? Right here, she must stop and declare that these images of limitation are neither person, place, nor thing. Okay. And so what is he inviting us to do? I love this, because this is where we get to use denials and refusals. Now, with denials, we're using I am not statements. And this is important. Now, remember, we're working on the mental level, right? We're working at the level of consciousness, right? There's an experience on the physical level that is happening, but is not permanent. We are treating our minds with truth in the same way that we treat our bodies with food and medicine. And you can do both at the same time. So we don't substitute one for the other. So we can affirm and begin to say from this place, after we have recognized who and what God is and connected ourselves, that it is operating in, through, and as us and is the law of our life right now. I am not this bank account balance. I am a wealthy child of a wealthy universe. We can declare a denial. I am not unworthy. I am worthy to be all, do all, and have all. We can declare I am not sick. I am well, I am whole. Now, why can we affirm that? Because that sounds dangerous, right? And that can be toxic, and that can be misused in the same way that fire could be misused, right? I am is not your physical body, right? I am is not what we experience as you in this life experience. I am is your God name. And I am is your connection to your divine nature, your connection to God. So I am is God with and within you. And it's important that you understand that the I am that I am within you is not sick, right? The I am that I am within you is not unworthy. The I am that I am within you is not that bank account balance. What you speak about I am is true, even if your physical being is currently having a different experience. That's the whole reason you're praying in the first place. So hear this. This is very, very, very important. And it has to be spoken of and understood from this complete understanding, right? Because again, folk will run out here and just talking about you ain't sick. People have been misusing within our own New Thought community, been misusing these ideas about dis-ease to shame folks as we are still in the middle of a pandemic, right? So we're clear that what we're saying is that God and God in us is not sick, right? Right? And we have the opportunity to connect back with that reality and as much of it as we can embody. And for a lot of us, for a whole lot of reasons, we can't, right? I share this story all the time, often. And it's been disputed. We don't even fully know if it's true, but it's a story that Ram Dass told many times about his teacher, his guru, who took the drugs that he had, and I believe it was heroin, and he just ate it all, right? And had no effects. He didn't get high or anything, right? Now, I happen to believe that story is true. I believe that that is possible. But as much as I can embody, for me personally, my belief, I believe that if I took an exorbitant amount of drugs like heroin and just ingested it all at once, I believe that I would get terribly sick and probably die, right? So I understand what my beliefs, where my beliefs limit me, right? I understand as much as I can embody. I understand what my mold is, right? So I'm not going to go out here doing something stupid and foolish, like trying to take a whole bunch of drugs because it's possible to do that and not have any effects, right? So we recognize that for all of us, as we're moving through this life, right, as much as we can embody, even though it may be true, right, that God is not sick and we are one with God, we recognize that we have a whole lot of beliefs that outpicture in our lives. Doesn't make us bad. It doesn't make us wrong. But then we don't go out and recklessly try to prove a principle that we have yet to fully embody. Right. And so, again, while I can believe that, and I know, there's powerful, miraculous things and there are gurus that have done and do all kinds of wonderful things, I'm not stepping out and doing that. Right. Very important. Very important. So again, those are denials. Those are I am not statements. The other thing that's important, if you heard me, with every I am not statement, then we shifted it to, but what are you, or what do you have, right? If I am not unworthy, I am worthy to be do all, right? If I am not sick, I am well, I am whole, right? I am happy, healthy, and whole, whatever it may be. Now, refusals are something else, and I love refusals. In the basic principles of the science of mind, Frederick Bales teaches what he calls the refusal method. And when he teaches the refusal method in the text, he gives us a story to understand the energy behind a refusal, right? And even a denial. But here's what he writes. Suppose a man came to your door right now with an elephant. Suppose he told you he was disbanding his circus and had decided to give you this tremendous beast. You reply that you do not want the animal, but he insists that he is leaving it with you just the same. You then tell the man that you have not solicited this doubtful gift, nor have you any place to house it. And if he persists in the matter, you have the right to do the final thing and say, I refuse to accept or take delivery of this thing you offer. Whereupon you may close the door in his face, and under the law, he is compelled to take the unwelcome beast away. Precisely the same thing can be done with an unwanted condition. While it is true that we treat the thought rather than the condition, you heard me say that earlier, there are times when we must be very positive in regard to the condition, and we can be sure that in doing so, we are backed up by mental law. So this is the energy of the refusal method, right? That there are beliefs that you may be aware now that you're holding, and you need to shut the door to them. Just as if somebody came to your house and was like, here, I'm giving you this elephant, figure it out. And you'd be like, no, hell no. I don't want this elephant. I don't have any place for this elephant. I don't want this elephant defecating all over my house. No. And you would shut the door immediately, right? And if they persisted, then you might call the police, right? But the point is, you're not taking this thing. You are refusing this thing, and you are shutting the door to it. Well, some of the things that we're holding in our minds, we need to treat it just like a man is bringing you something silly like an elephant. In our minds, we need to say, I refuse to believe that I cannot have these things that I want. I refuse to believe that I must continue to live in poverty and not having enough. I refuse to believe that this is the way my life just has to be and this is the way my life is going to play out. I refuse to believe that I am limited. I refuse to believe that I am unworthy. I refuse to believe that I am lacking. I refuse to believe that I can't have a home that's comfortable. I refuse to believe that I can't live in a safe neighborhood. I refuse to believe that I can't have a positive bank account balance all the time. I refuse to believe that I can't travel the world. I refuse to believe that I can't start this business. I refuse to believe that I can't be successful because of what I look like. You shut the door. You shut the door. You shut the door. Now, one of the most elegant uses of the refusal method that I've come in contact with, and it's something that I always bring my mind back to, I love this example because it shows us how wide and how expansive we can get in our knowing. In Martin Luther King's Nobel Peace Prize, his acceptance speech, he uses the method of refusals. Actually, he's using and doing everything that we're talking about right now. And, he gives us a nice little preamble and introduction, and it's a wonderful, Martin Luther King is one of the most eloquent speakers, that has ever graced the planet, right? And definitely one of the most elegant and eloquent speakers of the 20th century. And as he moves through his speech, he gets to this section and he actually states 5 refusals using this refusal method. But then he also comes back to the truth. He starts by saying, I accept this award today with an abiding faith in America and an audacious faith in the future of mankind. Right. So he's starting with that thing that we were already talking about. Right, that he's connecting to this larger idea. He's connecting to the spirit, love, law idea. Right, faith in America. Right, it's not about the soil that makes up the United States of America. Right, it's about the ideals, this higher ideal and reality that we understand to be America, and then the audacious faith in the future of mankind. He's connecting himself to the ultimate reality, this high reality, but he recognizes that there are some experiences here out in the world that he needs to cancel in his own mind and in the mind of the listener, because these are the things that are contributing to the experience of the world at that time. And he goes on. He says, I refuse to accept despair as the final response to the ambiguities of history. I refuse to accept the idea that the isness of man's present nature makes him morally incapable of reaching up for the eternal oughtness that forever confronts him. I refuse to accept the idea that man is mere flotsam and jetsam in the river of life, unable to influence the unfolding events which surround him. Now you hear that? Unable to influence the unfolding events which surround him, right? Now some people would say that I create my reality, again, could be a toxic belief, as the psychotherapist says. It's still true, but it can be misused. And he's tapping into that reality. I refuse to accept the idea that we are unable to influence the unfolding events which surround us. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I refuse to accept the cynical notion that nation after nation must spiral down a militaristic stairway into the hell of thermonuclear destruction. And then he goes back to truth. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. Right? And so as much as people have limited and misapplied the idea to Martin Luther King and called him a dreamer, which then I believe would relegate him to just being a positive thinker and ultimately practicing toxic positivity. The truth is, Martin Luther King, of course, was a metaphysician, but also he was a positive knower, right? And he was right here in his own words is the use of principle, right? It's the use of principle. And so when we refuse, after we deny, then we insert truth, right? I said we deny I am not something, and then I am something, or I have something, right? In the same way, I refuse to believe this, so what do I believe? I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. Right? And this aligns exactly with where Ernest Holmes takes us next. Because after we have done that, after we have stopped, and after we have spoken the word of truth and used denials and refusals to remove those old beliefs, Holmes writes, we then begin to fill our thought with the idea of faith, the expectancy of good, and the realization of plenty. We sense and mentally see right action in our life. We put our whole trust in the law of good, and it becomes very real to us as we definitely speak it into our being, and into the being of our affairs. We deny anything and everything that contradicts the realization of this truth. That's exactly what Martin Luther King did as he stood there on that stage and accepted the Nobel Peace Prize. He refused to accept any other idea. And he embraced it and codified it so beautifully when he says, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. When fear speaks first, make truth the last word. After the positive knower has become aware of the limiting thoughts and limiting beliefs, she stops. And after stopping, she may need to tend to her mental and emotional well-being. And because she's a positive knower, she does that. She doesn't railroad over those limiting beliefs. She doesn't bury her head in the sand. She doesn't just keep going anyway. Persistence without insight will lead to the very same outcomes. If we're desiring a different outcome, we bring insight, we bring knowing. And so we tend to our needs. We attend to our mental and emotional well-being, right? We honor our emotions. Our emotions are good. Our emotions are indicators. We take the time to do that. Then we deal with the limiting beliefs. In spiritual mind treatment, we use refusals and denials to remove and replace the unwanted beliefs. And I believe it's in chapter 11, Ernest Holmes, he's writing about the argumentative method, which is essentially what we're doing here. It's kind of, we're laying out an argument, right? We're stating a truth, and then through denials and affirmations, we are arguing for our prosperity, arguing for our thriving, versus arguing for our limitations. And so he writes, this argumentative method of treatment is a series of affirmations and denials for the purpose of building up in the mind of the practitioner a state of realization and acceptance. And so that's why we do this. And we do this day in and day out, right? There's no expectation that as you move through this and as you are operating as a positive knower, that everything just happens, in one fell swoop. After you say amen, ashe, and so it is. And I encourage you, when you read this section, he gives a sample spiritual mind treatment that you can read, and it really supports you in seeing and understanding how you speak this word in faith. And so we come back to this day in and day out, right? And as we do that, we are creating our mold. We're changing the shape of our mold and allowing more of God the good to flow in, through, and as us. So I want to take you back to Star Wars. I mentioned watching the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus. But one of the things I was thinking about as it relates to this final chapter and sort of this final section of the introduction, and sort of a summation of these 4 parts of this introduction, the thing itself, what it does, how it works, and how to use it. One of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars, right, is in The Empire Strikes Back, right? That's episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Now, we have Luke Skywalker, who has already experienced and come into an awareness of the Force, right? And he's been able to use the Force in beautiful ways, right? Obi-Wan has been training him and teaching him, and he was learning to trust that there's something operating in him that's guiding him. And at the end of Star Wars, Episode 4, there's great victory, right? And he was able to be victorious not by using the physical world or physical insights, right? But by using this connection with the Force. Well, he needs to continue his training. And so this is the movie where we meet Yoda, and he's going to the Dagobah system to find Yoda so that he can continue his training, right? And so ultimately he finds Yoda and begins his training. And so we have this scene where Luke Skywalker's ship, his X-Wing fighter, is stuck in the swamp, and it begins to sink in the water, and it's almost completely submerged. Just a little bit of the ship is visible. And Luke is dismayed, and he says, "Oh no, we'll never give it out now." And Yoda gets irritated, his teacher. He says, "So sure are you? Tried, have you? Always with you, it can't be done. Hear you nothing I say?" Right? And Luke replies, "Master, moving rocks is one thing, but this is a little different." To which Yoda replies, "No different. The differences are in your mind. Throw them out. No longer of use are they to you." So this first part is so interesting to me, right? Because Luke has experienced good, right? And how much good can we experience? As much as we can embody. And so in this moment, he had a limitation that surfaced, right? That he believes, unlike Abraham Hicks reminds us that it's just as easy to manifest a castle as it is a button. He believed that somehow there was some different power required to move a large X-Wing fighter ship, right? Versus moving rocks. He said, moving rocks is one thing, but this is a little different. And what Yoda is reminding him, there is no difference. The differences are only in our mind. The difference is in our belief about the thing. Throw them out. No longer are they used to you. To which Luke replies, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And here we have the famous line, "No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try." This is important because as we think about what we've been studying and understanding about spirit, love, and law and how spirit, love, and law works, right? We don't try to use the law, right? We don't try to contact the law. We do or we do not. There's cause and effect, right? We're either embodying it or we're not, right? And the effect, what our pictures, is a result of that. And so taking Yoda's suggestion, Luke then tries to lift the ship using the Force, and he's unsuccessful. And he replies, "I can't. It's too big." We've all been in that space. We've all been in that situation. We have demonstrated many powerful, wonderful, beautiful, elegant, brilliant things in our lives. But this thing right here, right now, this challenge right here, right now, this unwanted thing right here, right now, this ship stuck in the swamp right here, right now, it's too big. We think we can't do it. And Yoda replies, "Size has no meaning. It matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And well, you shouldn't. For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. All of life feeds it and makes it grow. Its energy surrounds and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter." It's like Ernest Holmes and Yoda were hanging out and had a conversation. Everything that he's saying right here is exactly what Ernest Holmes has been inviting us to understand about spirit, love, and law, about this thing itself and how it works. Your ally is the Force. Your ally is spirit. Your ally is God. Your ally is law, and a powerful ally it is, because all of life feeds it and makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and it binds us. It connects us. It's within us and all around us. And then he goes on, because we talk about how does it work? It works for us by working through us and always is us. Luminous beings are we. We are divine, not this crude matter. That's why you can affirm something that can seem crazy in the moment, like I am not sick. Because you are a luminous being. You are not this crude matter. However this crude matter may be out picturing right now, you are not that. And he goes on, feel it you must. Feel the flow. Feel the force around you. Here between you and I, that tree and that rock. Yes, everywhere. Waiting to be felt and used. Yes, even between this land and that ship. Yes, even between you and your healing. Yes, even between you and that new job. Yes, even between you and that new business. Yes, even between you and that new family. Yes, even between you and your new income. Yes, even between you and whatever that thing is that appears to be impossible right here and right now. And then Yoda closes his eyes. It's a beautiful scene. He lifts up his hands just like Moses lifted up his hands with the staff to part the Red Sea. And he lifts the ship out of the water and onto dry land. And Luke responds, I don't believe it. And Yoda says, that is why you fail. There is this thing that we call God, spirit, first cause, love, law. It is available to all equally. How much of it can we have? All of it. But only as much as we can embody, because it is done unto us as we believe. We fail not because God is unwilling to provide or unable to provide or sometimey. But we recognize that there are moments when we think, oh, this is too big. We're like Luke Skywalker. Oh, yeah, rocks. I can do all of that. I can use my mind to move rocks. I can demonstrate these other little things. Parking spaces is cool. But this other stuff, it's too big. And Yoda is reminding us, just as Ernest Holmes has been reminding us through this reading, of who and what this great ally is that we have and where is it. It binds us and connects us, and we have to feel it. We have to come into an intimate knowing with it. This ain't positive thinking. This is positive knowing. It's a positive understanding of the science of mind, spirit, and truth. I am so grateful and thankful for this journey that we have taken together this month. I'm so grateful and thankful for the ways in which each and every one of you will use what you have learned, expanding your consciousness and allowing God to fill it easily and effortlessly. Because now that we understand who and what God is, now that we truly understand what it means to love God, now we can start talking about loving ourselves. And so I'm excited about where we will go in February. As many of us consider it the month of love, and there's always a focus on Valentine's Day. But we got to start with the first relationship. Once we understand that there is an eternal loving presence that is and always is, and it's within us, now let's use that awareness to love ourselves. And then as we do that, then we can love others. So to that I say, amen, ashe, and so it is.
There is so much goodness in this series. And today, one of the things we have always tried to do and decided to do and are doing is teaching in a way that you can apply it to your life, step by step by step. Not just giving you broad brush strokes or principles and ideas, but being able to apply it and understanding that it is a process.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we don't automatically shift a belief into a knowing just like that.
Right.
That's important, that we love ourselves no matter what, and we forgive ourselves if we haven't been able to interact and enact this way of being and knowing. We do it now. I'm looking forward to what's coming next month, because we take it and we build upon what we know about God and we apply it to ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So excited about it. Please come back to this message and be prepared for next month, because it's going to be even better.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
Yes,
PJ.
yes. You're welcome. You're welcome. We're going to build on it. We're going to build on it. So in this moment, it is time for giving. You see the information here on your screen, and you've seen it throughout the broadcast. It's very easy to give to CSC. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or you can text to give, 347-744-9500. There's a $10 minimum to text to give. But more importantly, we want you to give what feels good, right? And we recognize that that feeling good is where the power and the blessing of giving is, right? It's so interesting to me that so many communities use shame to force people to give, and they may receive, the organization may receive those funds, but the person, the giver, is actually not experiencing the blessing of giving, right? Because it's the equivalent of, planting a poisonous plant in the ground. Yeah, like it'll grow, right? But it's not the type of seed that you want to plant. And so this is why we're saying, give what feels good. Give what feels good. Find your joy number and give that without hesitation, without reservation, without calculation, right? Any of those things, you're just like, oh yeah, boom, I'm giving this. I feel good about it. All good. And I move on, and as I give, I receive. And then you're just out in the world receiving. You're out in the world receiving financially. You're out in the world receiving in your relationships. You're out in the world receiving in your career. You're out in the world receiving when you're at the grocery store. You're out in the world receiving when unexpected checks are showing. Like, all of these things start to just happen because you're creating this flow garden, right? Seed is planted, and it's like your garden is just abundant. It's just, oh, beautiful flowers here, beautiful, wonderful, delicious vegetables here, right? And then you're like, as we read in the biblical text, right? You're like a tree that yields its fruit in and out of season, right? Because you're a river planted by your tree planted by the rivers of water, right? You're actually nourishing yourself over and over again, and so. That's the consciousness we give from. And when we give in that way, we can affirm absolutely all the money that I use.
All the money that I use.
Returns to me multiplied.
Returns to me multiplied.
In a never-ending cycle.
In a never-ending cycle.
Of increase.
Of increase.
And enjoyment.
And enjoyment.
To that we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is. Again, happy Sunday to each and every one of you. We trust that you will have a good remainder of your day in whatever way you choose to honor it, and an even better week. We look forward to connecting with many of you on the prayer call on Wednesday morning. And of course, we will be back here next Sunday, first Sunday in February, where we will be taking It's All About Love and looking at it from the lens of what does it mean to love ourselves.
Yes, yes.
All right. So enjoy your day. Bye for now.
Bye for now.